the show is all yours. But honestly, I'm going to tell people, I-Man, that they can read your writings if they already don't know about it on atgpress.com. That stands for Against the Grain. Once again, that URL is ATG, and that's T as in Thomas, atgpress.com. Scroll down and you will see a link for the Informer, and that's what I've called up right now on my computer. Can I ask you first off, though, I-Man, what led you to start getting into this obviously underground realm of history that's the real stuff, but about which few people know?
Well, about 1983, I was involved with Internal Revenue Service and whatnot, and I was following a lot of people, Schiff and all them. And I noticed that there was a lot of people losing, and Schiff was losing, and then they would be doing the same thing, only a different vein, coming back and still losing.
Are you referring to Irwin Schiff and the whole tax situation?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And so I figured that something had to be wrong, and of course I was like the others. I believed in the Constitution and all this stuff, and couldn't figure out why the judicial system and everything else was so askew that it wasn't conforming to what everybody believes as to the Constitution and rights and whatnot. So I said at that point, when I happened to be in a particular appeal case, and attorney walked in and presented to the court a loss of Schiff that just happened that day, and I was, of course, arguing the same thing that Schiff was arguing, and at that point the court gave me about 5 minutes and wanted a response, and I said I couldn't give you a response in 5 minutes, so they dismissed the case. That's what led me to say there's got to be something deeper than what's going on, and I got to go back in time and find out why this is happening today.
Now, you're referring to the whole IRS situation, and if you do stay with us for other shows, you'll be able for sure to speak to especially some of that information regarding the IRS. You did want to start off, I think, at a place where most of us really do understand to a certain extent where Americans start, and that is with Britain. But you're going to take a look at Britain and its connection to us in a bit of a different manner, are you not?
Yeah, that's because, you see, I was being a basic researcher for major industries, and I was taught by, excellent professors, not in school, but on, actually on hands-on as to how to do research, and this is what got me into it. So I just applied all of my learned research and put it into researching history and government and whatnot, and that's what led me back to actually the Middle Ages, and then I came forward. I mean, you could go all the way back further, but I figured the Middle Ages was far enough. That's the 8th to the 13th century.
Well, you indicated to me, did you not, and understandably so, I think most of us who have at least had some world history will remember this name, that it goes right back to the Code of Hammurabi?
Yeah, the Code of Hammurabi, if anybody wants to go to the library because they can't afford the 26 volumes of Benedict on Admiralty, major libraries would have it, small libraries would not have it. But the Law of Hammurabi was the law of all the nations, and every nation picked it up, and this goes back to 2000 BC. So the Law of Hammurabi was actually known as the Law of Oleron, the Rhodesian Law, the Roman Law, and what is interesting is the tie-in with Admiralty and the Uniform Commercial Code of today, because in Hammurabi, that's all the nations dealt with was Admiralty, maritime, and that's what we have in the country today. So it's a big mismatch of everything together that people have a hard time understanding, if they're not a researcher. They usually have a gut reaction, a knee-jerk reaction, and they listen to other people, they listen to government. And of course, in all governments, the winner is the one that writes the history.
Right.
And this is the problem, is that history has been written and forced down the people's throats without them giving a second thought about it. They just say, well, you know, that's what it must be. And it's not.
Let me ask you, you mentioned two things, but first, I want to just ask you, the Code of Hammurabi, that the fact that it's been borrowed from or built upon or extended through so many centuries, was it necessarily a good form of government or law for the people, or has it always been an elitist type situation?
No, it wasn't for the people. It was for the law merchants. And there's, like I say, if you can get Benedict on Admiralty, the 7th edition, and read the first 2 volumes, that will give you a whole nutshell of what happened from Hammurabi. And in Benedict, in the 7th edition, the newer editions, I'm not sure, but each edition loses so much more of the real information. In fact, I have one of the original books of 1850, and all the judges, worth anything, if they're worth anything, have this book in their chambers. And it was just so happened that I happened to get a copy of it over a period of a year. And it is so easy to understand the 1850 edition that when you pick up the 7th edition, it's 26 volumes, and the original was one book, approximately about 2 inches thick.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to become any more common person friendly, does it?
No. So actually, it wasn't. It was made for the people. If the people were merchants or were involved with merchants, that they could use this law. But it wasn't like God's law. It was just for law merchants. That's why they call it the law merchant, the law of the law merchant.
But actually, then, what we're looking at is a law that kind of is based upon mercantilism.
Yes, that's basically all it was. And you got to remember, in the old days, that's all that the countries dealt with, and that's why they called it a maritime or admiralty, because everything was across the ocean. And a funny thing about it is, well, not really funny, but the odd thing is that all of the countries, including Europe and Rome, used it only for the mercantile and the oceans and the rivers and whatnot. And then they had what they call the common law, which was the king's common law, and it wasn't God's law. A lot of people misconstrue common law, and when you pick up the book on the history of the American bar by Charles Warren, that will come out and tell you, and they have actual excerpts from the judges, and it's a history book of how the American bar was formed. It wasn't anything on courts or anything like that, actual cases of present day, but it actually showed that the common law was the most hated law by the common man in England. And everybody wants common law, and they cry for common law, and they don't know what they're really crying for.
Right.
But had they read and researched, this is why I talk about the knee-jerk reaction. It's someone said this and someone said that, and everybody believes it. But if the person would actually go back into history and into the books and spend multitude of hours of just boring stuff to go through, but people don't do that. They want an instant gratification. They want instant, recognition. And sometimes I would sit in libraries for a whole week on one subject, and at least put 6 to 8 hours. Many times I opened up in the library, and they even had to boot me out of the library at 11:30 at night. And this is the dedication that you actually need to really and what's going on, and not take people's word for it.
You've spoken well to what it takes to research. a lot of us out here who consider ourselves such do want somewhat of instant gratification, or shall we say hitting a gold vein with the first pick we put into the books, and that's not the way it happens. With the diligence that you've shown, and other people have also mentioned the same, it's not a sexy job. It takes a lot of tedious work to find out really what there is to be had. And I'll be honest with you, one of the reasons why I was happy to have you on is because you did the wet work, to which we really salute you. And I'm glad you said what you did, because people who want to go out there and find the truth may be out there for quite some time, and do they have the diligence and the endurance, the wherewithal, to continue?
Yeah, that's the that's the main problem, as I see